central France, Tzu Chi volunteers are helping out flood victims by passing out gift cards in Salbris and Romanontin. In Taiwan, we'll revisit the site of the gas explosion that happened in Kaohsiung 2 years ago and see how businesses are recovering. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Duncan DeAeth. Thank you for joining us. In June, central France was hit by the worst flooding in a century. This led Tzu Chi volunteers to visit Salbris and Romanontin to hand out 270 gift cards that the recipients could use to purchase supplies. The local media documented the distributions and showed great appreciation for the support from Taiwan.
The whole family goes to a supermarket to buy what they need with the gift card they recently received. This is a real happy event for this family following the flood. They all want to thank Tzu Chi for the gift.
I was quite curious about Tzu Chi, but after I saw the speech and the ceremony, I realized I had never felt that kind of love before. This smile was pure and true. I will use the money on my daughter. The gift card can be used for a year, so we will use it later. I will use it on rebuilding our apartment. I will buy food, diapers, milk powder for the baby, and school supplies for my daughter.
Tzu Chi volunteers didn't just give them gift cards, but also respect and hope.
It made me feel quite good because I felt I was supported, and they also listened to my needs and gave me respect. I was very disappointed before, so I needed a lot of help.
I think I will buy this one because the other costs 199 euros and it's too expensive. I was unemployed for 4 years, but because of the floods, I found a cleaning job at a hotel where I sheltered for a while.
The local media saw the cruelty of the worst floods in the century, but also the precious interactions amongst people.
Qu'une fondation taïwanaise vienne les aider, déjà, ça, ils n'y s'y attendaient pas.
I was surprised to see a Taiwanese group here. I was surprised to see a charity group coming to a country like France that is considered rich, but I'm touched by their charity work, and it is very helpful because I've never seen any ceremony like it. In France, the aid distribution is often done by the government and is very cold and without human warmth.
Everything needs to be rebuilt, but love will accompany them all the way.
Ecuador's Manabi province, Jama County, was devastated by the April 16th earthquake, which destroyed more than 1,000 homes. DaAi TV recently returned to Ecuador to visit Jama and witness the return of small-scale economic activity. However, the living conditions of the earthquake survivors are still less than ideal. A Tzu Chi relief assessment team met with the Jama County Commissioner, later visiting potential locations for the construction of permanent housing.
It's 4 months after the earthquake, and the center of Hama is only now seeing the return of some small-scale economic activity.
On major streets, some small shops have begun to do business. But how slow has been the pace of economic recovery? For this, we need to ask a local vendor.
After the earthquake, no business. The people doesn't have any job, just waiting for the government is giving some food. We are poor now.
Those victims in the tent area live directly on the soil. They are very desperate, and it's very easy for them to get sick. So no matter if it's living in tents or shelters, they all want to move into their own houses so they can finally feel at home.
When the earthquake struck Hama County, about 1,300 to 1,400 houses suffered damage. The commissioner told us the top priority is to build housing. Here we can see that some have taken available resources, such as bamboo, to build temporary latrines. And over here we can see that next door, this house just uses a black plastic tarp for shelter.
With the conclusion of the emergency relief phase after the disaster, the resources allocated to local governments have been reduced. Tzu Chi accompanied county staff to visit several sites for exploration of assessing their suitability for constructing permanent housing.
Today we are pleased to learn that the government said that as long as we are willing, they could give us a piece of land which can connect to roads, water, and electricity for us to begin planning.
Many challenges remain as more than 1,300 people need to move from the ranks of the homeless to those with a permanent place to live. The key to this important transition may lie in the hands of international aid organizations.
Next, we continue our investigation into recovery efforts in Ecuador following the earthquake. DaAi News visited Monte Cristi County, which specializes in the carving of corozo nut, which can appear just like ivory. The area also produces fashionable straw hats. Some 4 months after the earthquake, a rural school in the community is still struggling to raise the needed funds for rebuilding.
Here we see craftsmen expertly carving this corozo nut in the shape of an elephant, which is the economic lifeline of Monte Cristi County. At this school, children learn academic subjects as well as these handicrafts. Unfortunately, the April 16th earthquake had a major impact on this area.
Today we are visiting Comuna Payo de la Poma. Following the earthquake, the central government didn't have any funds to allocate to this area. Here we can see that 2 new classrooms have been built with parents of the school doing their own fundraising to build these classrooms.
Monte Cristi County has 4 schools that were badly damaged by the earthquake. Previously, this elementary school had 1 bamboo building and 2 brick buildings, but they're all toppled over. This put into jeopardy the education of 250 students.
Formerly, the classrooms were at the perimeter of this area. After the earthquake, they collapsed and we did local fundraising to build temporary classrooms. But the number of classrooms is not enough to accommodate the students, so they divide them into a morning and afternoon class.
Although the county has given us a lot of aid, such as faculty resources, they still lack a budget for hardware and equipment. So after the earthquake, schools have to find their own benefactors to rebuild.
Assistance from the county government put the school in touch with Tzu Chi, which put forward a blueprint for reconstruction. In the future, there are plans to build a 2-story building at this site to accommodate more students and revitalize local industry.
The Guatemalan village of San Sur in Palencia City has only 1 drugstore and no doctors. This led Tzu Chi volunteers and a medical team from Cuba to jointly hold a free clinic in the village. Let's see how things went.
San Sur is about 1 hour by car to the capital of Guatemala. But this village does not have a hospital or a clinic. It only has just 1 drugstore, and people are too poor to buy medicine at the drugstore. When they learned that Tzu Chi would hold a free clinic, they formed a long line so they all want to see the doctors. This girl's eyes have red dots, and she will become blind if she isn't treated.
It's a bacterial infection. If it's not removed, it will affect her eyesight.
The Cuban medical team has been working with Tzu Chi for many years, jointly holding 14 free clinics in remote areas. On this day, over 300 people come to the free clinic, and 30 of them have surgeries.
While I was stationed in Paraguay, Panama, and Honduras, I often saw Tzu Chi doing much charity work in these countries and sent love to them. Their work is to be respected.
The free clinics give much needed care to those who need it the most. It also allows the love of Taiwanese people to shine all the way to Central America.
Namibia is the 7th country in Africa with a Tzu Chi presence. Distance as well as various regulations led Tzu Chi to temporarily lose touch with this country. 4 South Africans from Durban traveled by bus for 3 days and 2 nights, making the one-way trip of over 2,350 kilometers. In the first area they visited, Katutura, they hosted a tea party to meet with locals. They held a question and answer session and pledged to resume their care for the area.
The place is called Babylon. The people are very, very poor here. So today, what we decided to do, we decided that we mustn't first call a big meeting.
Last year, Tzu Chi volunteers were here expanding their care services to Namibia. However, because of a reorganization and lost contact with the original charity group, these 4 volunteers from Durban decided to make the trip. This trip is anything but simple, involving a departure from Durban, South Africa, and then traveling north to Johannesburg, and then transferring into another vehicle to the border town of Upington. After a security personnel check, they managed to enter Namibia. It's a 2,350-kilometer trip, which took 3 changes of vehicles in 2 nights. To recruit local volunteers, they discussed 4 important questions associated with Tzu Chi. What are the benefits of joining Tzu Chi? What do volunteers do? What religion is Tzu Chi? Is it affiliated with a political party? These driven volunteers patiently responded to each question, helping regain the trust of this community.
Because giving is a blessing. And also the Bible says that blessed are those who are given rather than those who are receiving. See? That's our main purpose. So you'll see yourself as rich. Like us, we are so rich inside here, though we're poor. More and more.
The next day, another tea party was held, which attracted a very large crowd, including some local leaders who came to listen. This on-site recruitment of volunteers was quite successful, with many expressing an interest in going to Durban, which will ultimately help Tzu Chi return to Namibia.
We love you, Tzu Chi.
Moving to Taiwan, it has been 2 years since a gas explosion rocked a neighborhood in Kaohsiung. In the wake of the accident, numerous buildings were seriously damaged. Many shop owners in the area rent their storefronts, and it took from 6 months to a year for businesses to begin recovery. Many businesses and residents have left the area entirely to make a life elsewhere. Now, in contrast to the clean and newly rebuilt environment, those who remain are struggling to get by. A drone equipped with a camera gives us a glance at the restored street front from above. This is Kaohsiung Road, the site of a serious gas explosion in Kaohsiung 2 years ago. In comparison to the pleasant, pristine condition of the area now, the site 2 years ago is almost unrecognizable.
From an outside perspective, you'd say it's much more beautiful than it was before, really.
People have left and have not returned. 2 years ago, at the intersection of Kaohsiung Road and Ersheng Road, a large furniture store collapsed in the blast and was unable to be rebuilt. The space is now empty, and despite being next to a planned train station, the area still has not attracted much new business. The light rail station planned for the area will travel down Ersheng Road and Sanduo Road. However, there are still many variables and many business owners are unsure of the area's future. Pictures of the street before the gas explosion show just how much of the street front had to be demolished. Although the area has been cleaned up and renovated, people have yet to return.
Business has dropped over 50%. The food service industry was especially hard hit. I don't think the customers will return down the street. They will probably walk past the intersection. I don't know, and we are a bit worried.
On this street front, among 9 storefronts, these 5 were forced to close since the gas explosion.
The area has completely changed as far as consumers. The period of reconstruction just took too long, and business owners started moving away to different areas.
Despite the business closures and the lack of customers, some business owners are still doing their best to get through these difficulties. And hopefully, with the completion of the light rail station and some new businesses, more people will return soon. Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines recently brought 20 kilos of rice, adult diapers, aid supplies, and relief cash to a couple's dwelling where the wife suffers from stage 4 breast cancer. Her husband had to quit his job to devote himself to caring for her. After receiving support from Tzu Chi volunteers, she vowed to follow the Tzu Chi path to help others in need. Let's take a look.
Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines are bringing aid supplies, about $72 US relief cash to this couple. Reynaldo quit his job to fully devote himself to caring for his wife, who suffers from stage 4 breast cancer. Without a stable source of income, this family is suffering financially.
Tzu Chi helps us a lot. We no longer need to worry about buying additional food and daily supplies. I don't have a stable source of income that is sufficient for our living expenses, so this is really a great assistance to us.
Noreen used to have a positive attitude and a bright outlook. Though she suffers from cancer and is bedridden, the lovers stay even more devoted to each other. After hearing their story, Tzu Chi volunteers traveled here to help them overcome these difficulties.
Una sa lahat, Lord,
I'd like to share my experiences after recovering from my illness. I want to encourage people that any patients had the chance to recover someday, and I would like to share with them how I battle cancer. I want to be a volunteer just like you to help those in need.
Volunteers na makatulong po sa mahihirap.
As a volunteer, we should be ready to respond immediately to those in need. Even if we have something more important to do, I think this is our duty.
Despite their unfortunate health condition, Noreen has the dream of following Tzu Chi's footsteps to help the less fortunate. With Tzu Chi volunteers' love and compassion, Noreen may yet someday fulfill her dream.
In the capital city of the Philippines, Manila, the gap between rich and poor is very wide. There are many impoverished families living at the bottom of the social ladder. Local Tzu Chi volunteers keep looking for those that need assistance to provide them with finance and aid supplies, hoping to relieve their distress. Through helping the less fortunate, volunteers have also found the true value of Buddhism in their lives.
Emmanuel suffers from pulmonary and kidney diseases. Fortunately, he has survived until now, thanks to financial and medical assistance from Tzu Chi volunteers.
I can sense Tzu Chi volunteers' sincerity when they help me. They don't mind if I have different beliefs. They care more about whether they can help me out.
20-year-old Joanne feels helpless because her daughter has multiple facial deformities, including cleft lip and palate, and a congenital defect in both eyes.
I feel hopeless because I'm unable to help her. She has been suffering since her birth. She can't see the world. She can only identify the person she's talking to through their voice.
Tzu Chi volunteers have done their part to provide this mother-daughter pair with a monthly financial aid of about $48 and a 20-kilogram sack of rice. However, volunteers always wish they could do more to help improve the little girl's life.
We can see different cases through conducting home visitations, especially the little girl. We always ask ourselves, why is her life so different from the others? And why must some children suffer from leukemia at such an early age? It made me realize that the principles of Buddhism are correct. All these things are related to our actions in our previous lives.
After experiencing happiness and sorrow at different care recipient homes, Tzu Chi volunteers redouble their efforts to keep caring for the neglected corners of society, bringing hope, love, and compassion to those in need.
Every child has the right to an education. However, for some children, this means overcoming certain obstacles of everyday life in order to go to school. High school graduate Lin Xinhua from Jiayi, Taiwan, was injured by a sealing machine when she was just 3 years old, which caused her right hand to be deformed. Although the injury did not affect her in the course of her daily life, she often felt embarrassed and self-conscious around others. Let's see how this young girl managed to change her negative outlook into a positive one.
Like many girls in her class, Lin Xinhua has straight, long hair. Seated in the middle of the classroom, Lin appears no different from the rest of her peers.
I was given a class list on the first day of class, which mentioned a student with a disability. I was looking around the class to see if I could spot the students because it's usually very obvious, but I wasn't able to tell who.
Lin's teacher remembers not having seen Lin's right hand during her entire freshman year because she always placed it under the desk or covered it with a jacket. This is because when Lin was just 3 years old, her hand was accidentally caught in a sealing machine. Since then, Lin has undergone more than 20 operations.
In the beginning, I envy others because they had such beautiful hands and can walk around so freely, whereas I feel self-conscious all the time. I live in Jiayi County, but I go to school in Jiayi City. When I travel on the bus, I get very conscious because there's a lot of people.
Suffering from low self-esteem in the past, Lynn says that it was her classmates that helped her regain courage and self-confidence. The scars on her right hand now serves as a constant reminder to stay motivated.
My friends are a positive force. Others have perfectly healthy hands, so sometimes they may take life for granted. For instance, I struggle to play basketball and volleyball, but that just motivates me to do better, so I keep practicing.
Soon she will go to college as Lynn has enrolled in an innovation design engineering program in hopes of becoming an illustrator in the future. She hopes her work will bring warmth to others.
This character has hair styled like a watermelon and is always smiling. Similarly, when I see others smiling, it makes me happy as well. I hope to generate positive energy and bring happiness to everyone.
Beginning this Friday, Tzu Chi will host 3 consecutive days of prayer activities to welcome the 7th lunar month at the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall Plaza. The activities will include a performance of the Sutra of Profound Gratitude towards Parents. None of the performers are being paid for their work, freely donating their time and contributing their professional skill for the benefit of others.
The Filial Piety Sutra will debut on August 5th at the CKS Memorial Hall Plaza. The performance includes a large lineup of experienced actors, including Tzu Chi volunteer Lu Lang Hui, who has been deeply influenced by her parents and especially her father.
My father took me by the hand and said that Tzu Chi performances teach compassion, and if I have free time, then I should definitely participate regardless of the pay. Just having enough to get by is enough.
Zhang Pingjun is also deeply involved in Tzu Chi.
We use the acting and real-life emotions to explain this important story to people. I feel very good about this, and I also feel very honored and duty-bound to participate. It makes no sense to just do it for the money.
A day earlier, Yang Kai-chi was still in southern Taiwan filming a drama. Against all odds, this actress was able to make it for the stage performance.
This is not only a drama, but I think of it as a true story. They can teach everyone about right or wrong, allowing viewers to reflect on their lives.
These 3 actors have frequently participated in DaAi drama performances, and through their acts of kindness, they're helping bring this wonderful performance to life.
At the end of our program, we'll take a look at how Tzu Chi volunteers in Malaysia are cooperating with a Korean church to offer good character classes every week for children in the community. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.